computer. So, of course, we're here with Lacy Marshall, and I've known Lacy for, it seems like, forever. I
About
have been
6 years now.
working with, I looked at when I was working with the last company you're with, and I've been engaged with them for almost 9 years now. And so that's been a while. And Lacy, you and I have done a lot of coaching and development work, and you're a fan of the two meeting close process. So why don't you give us an idea of kind of your backstory in your selling career and things you wanted to get accomplished? What was your hopes of going in sales?
Okay, well, initially I had no desire to get into sales because for me that was an extremely I found myself to be overwhelmed and anxious when I thought about being dependent on a commission structure. And I'd made a deal with my husband that if I ever found a sales job that had the base and plus commission, that I would dive in and see how I did. So I started at an oil and gas supply company selling, and to say that it was just reckless would kind of be an understatement. There was no investment in continued education, no investment in skill development. It was basically, here's our catalog, here's your territory, go see what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it felt like I was successful, but if I had known now, or if I had known then what I know now, I would have probably hugely discredited myself as a salesman, because it was very much an order taking role, if I could be so bold. And so luckily I did make enough to, stay in that position and to enjoy sales enough that when my next opportunity arose, which is with the IT company that I actually met you at. And when they approached me, their statement was, we don't want you for your technology experience. We want you for your sales experience, and we can coach and teach the rest.
Right.
Little did I know that they meant they were going to bring Steph in. And so once I got there, I would say that fear was pretty big. I was pretty afraid of just how big technical and consultative sales can be, and
Right.
the pressure that comes with that. And so for the first couple of years, I think I kind of let that fear get the best of me. And
what was it causing you to do when you're going out on appointments or making phone calls?
I would say the biggest mistake I was making was, out of fear, I was jumping at the first opportunity that I thought I heard.
Right.
Which I don't know if everybody believes this, but he who talks the most normally enjoys themselves the most. And I was enjoying myself a lot, and I'm not really sure how much my customers were.
Right.
So I was really struggling with that internally, and what it was translating to in my performance was tiny wins, wins out of complete convenience with local customers or people that had historically done business with us.
Right.
But it
Right.
wasn't translating to the big wins, which was very confusing to me because it seemed like I always had the right opportunities in front of me. And I kept hearing from people, it's your time, you're due for a hit, and, just keep going. But I would get there and somehow that would never convert to a win. And
Right.
so that was extremely discouraging, to the point where I asked myself, is this going to be a career that I can sustain in? And really started questioning if I'd made the right choice going into a sales career.
Well, what wall do you think you hit before you and I got together and we started teaching you the two meeting close selling system?
I would venture to say that the wall that I hit was simply I wasn't producing, and I wasn't going to be kept in the position that I was kept in. And,
Right.
and that was it. It wasn't lack of ambition. It wasn't lack of follow through. It was, I would say, lack of delivery and lack of understanding how I needed to approach sales from the perspective of my customer's best interest, while also driving business for the company I was working with.
Right, absolutely. And your personal situation was because I believe that you have a stay-at-home dad that takes care of the kids, and you're working, right?
At that time, we were both working full-time jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And to be very honest, I was going through some personal issues at home. My husband and I were both exhausted. Our kids were much younger, and it was a lot of stress. And we almost threw in the towel. And lucky to say, we're still married. So,
Yeah.
spoiler alert. But it was very stressful. It took a toll on every single aspect of my life, just the stress and the pressure. And I myself, with my desire to perform well, I just was hitting the wall, like you said.
Yeah, we see that, where somebody has a lot of energy like you, where they're doing a lot of activity, but the activity just seems to not generate the results that they want.
Yeah, I felt stuck.
Hmm. And so, then we started working together. We started teaching you the 2-meeting close system, where, you have the part 1, which is how to do your initial meeting, part 2, how to deliver a proposal.
Mm-hmm.
And so we worked together for that in a while, and talk to us about how did it affect your confidence level and in your results when you started, using Act 1, 2, 3, and 4 with how to do initial meeting.
Well, what's funny about it, and I'm glad that you kind of asked the question that way, it's because I think from the outside looking in, people think that if you are going to be a successful salesperson, then you need to be very conversational, common ground, all those things that are the status quo. But when I started digging in and learning about the 2-meeting close, I was very surprised to find out that the recipe for success that you were giving me was scripted and not scripted, but to know what I'm going to say when I'm going in there and to not have to scramble, and being confident and knowing what my next statement was going to be, to not have to do any guesswork, to not fumble or have to pull something out of thin air. All of a sudden, I found that the conversation was much more beneficial because it wasn't reliant on me figuring out what my next statement was going to be.
Yeah, you know what? It's really good. It's kind of like GPS. When you put in the destination, it shows you where you're going.
Well, I think you said
It
to me
shows
one
you
time,
the map.
Lacy, yeah, I think you said, and I think I'm going to be pretty close on this one. If you walk in not knowing what you plan to say, how do you expect to know what the result's going to be?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you don't know where the end is. And so when you can do a meeting where you know how to start and how to end, then you're just facilitating a really different experience for clients. Talk to us about that, because some of the talk tracks that we worked on together, you learned in your first initial meeting, changed the experience of the person you're talking to.
Well, okay, so I touched on a little bit earlier about gravitating towards the first thing that I thought might be an opportunity.
Hmm.
So instantaneously, the 2-meeting close eradicated that from my sales process. Because
Okay.
when you know what you're going to say, you can't latch on to one statement and get off track.
Right.
And so for me, that was the first roadblock that we removed. And that built my confidence. Second thing was, I feel like I probably let the process just drag out because I was fearful that I would put too much pressure on the customer.
Hmm.
But when you've got 2 meetings, it's very clear the timeline that you're expected to get this thing closed.
Right.
And so for me, that reframed the sales process, which made it a lot more clear what my objectives were going into it. And so the 2-meeting close genuinely just got me out of my own head
Hmm.
and started to make me understand that it's not about me. It's about listening to them, gathering information, coming back, building a proposal based on that information that you've gathered, delivering it strongly, and not being afraid to say, when do you want to sign?
Right. And you do it in a way, as a consultant, a partner problem solver, right? And not as a salesperson. And so, that's kind of the first thing. And, just to clarify for the people listening to this video, we're not saying that a deal is going to close in 2 meetings, right?
Well, not all of them, but
A
once you get
lot of them
past
do.
this round step, I would say that you give yourself a lot less credit because I've closed quite a few deals in 2 meetings thanks to you.
Yeah. And, but your second meeting is really your proposal delivery process.
That's
And
right.
we had some things in there. So how's it changed your life and your the lifestyle and your income and things
Well,
like that since learning the to eat and close process?
well, you kind of touched on having a stay-at-home dad. My husband does currently stay at home. We're
Mhm.
happily married. So, as far as cleaning things up at home, the stress and the pressure goes away when success becomes attainable and becomes a lot more easy. And I don't mean to say that success is easy. I mean to say that when you find a winning recipe, you know what your end result will be most of the time. And so for me, that it changed my financial state, obviously, because we went from being a 2 income family to a 1 income family, and we've never been more financially stable in our entire marriage.
Yeah,
And so
right.
it's amazing, it's incredible. But more than that, I've advanced. Last year I got a job offer that I had kind of benchmarked for myself as 5 maybe 10 years down the road, and here it was knocking at my door. It wasn't something I had to pursue. They pursued me because they were, in fact, somebody who had experienced being on the other side of my 2 meeting close process.
Hmm.
So not only has it brought me sales potential, but it changed my career path as well. And I'm now, like I said, leading an entire team of people. And it's so funny to see the things in them that I was doing that we're completely disrupting the status quo here. We really are. And that's what I'm implementing into my sales team. We aren't the same set of salesmen that walk into every room. We are not the same people saying the same things. And I really have you to thank for that, because it's not something that can only be used in one industry or one job, because I'm back in the oil and gas industry, which had nothing to do with my previous position. And here we are implementing the same process. And for the time that I've been there, we have shattered quota every single month. And so that's
Wow.
inspiring.
I was really happy when you told me about that. Of course, you're a top producer, Lacy, anyways, but having a process and a structure of how to do these meetings and proposals, how to handle objections, how to negotiate. We actually train. That's all part of the sales
Love that.
meeting mastery course. Has really just made you superstar. You know, a lot of people have what you have. They have the energy. They just don't have a process or knowledge of how to get the engagement with these executives. So they don't see you as a salesperson, but you're really driving. Remember, we always talk about control and close, control and close. A process is going to help you control the process.
The
Now, real,
problem with that step is I
uh-huh.
will tell you that you've put in my head that without a process, you can't survive. And so I believe that you've overcomplicated my life in wanting to put a process on everything. So I thank you.
Well, oh, you're welcome. Well, you have to have a process for sales, right? You have to
Absolutely.
have a process for prospecting. You got to have a process for handling objections. And when you have a process, it's easier. It makes sales a lot more fun, especially
You know,
because you're not
it does.
selling. You're
Winning
just
is
helping
fun.
people. Yeah, and you know, we like to work for money, right?
Hey, it's not, I don't work for badges on my shirt. I'll tell you that much.
That's right. We work for money. Well, real quick, one of the success stories that I wanted you to highlight for our audience is the vision boards. Uh, Setting up goal. You know, you went through my program of creating goals and setting priorities, and then we've been together for several years. And you've done you're probably on your second vision board, right?
I am. And I
And
did this year. Even being outside of Discovery Gear training, you ingrained it in my
uh
head. It's brought so much value. It's become an important part of my life.
right. Share a couple of examples from your first time you ever did a vision board.
Okay.
And I remember going on the opportunity to go on a mission trip, and then opportunity to get a medical thing accomplished, and the amazing thing that happened when you started sharing your vision board with people.
Okay. So first of all, I'd never done anything like that. It's not something I was familiar with, and but funnily enough, I considered myself a goal-oriented individual. But I would now go back and say I was dream-oriented.
Okay, that's yeah, good. A lot of people are like that.
And so, because setting goals is much different than dreaming and wanting things for your future. Because when you have goals with specific forward moving actionable items, it changes the game. It really does. You hear the whole old saying, you want to go from A to Z, when really you need to make just steps towards that and continue to build activities that move you towards that. Now, I would venture to say that I had a phenomenal, very unlikely success rate. I completed 100% of my vision board, and
Hmm.
I did not go small when I put my my goals on there. I like Steph mentioned, I wanted to go on a mission trip, and my first activity for that was to simply call our pastor and make it known that that's what we wanted to do. So a week after we did our vision boards, I set that lunch up with my husband. We let him know where our hearts were pointed. 2 weeks later, our pastor calls us back and says, we've had 2 people drop out of a mission. Would y'all like to come? Okay, so that was phenomenal. Had I not taken that first step and just expressing that's what we wanted to do, if I would have waited around trying to find the mission that we wanted to go to, plan for the perfect timing, none of it would have ever happened had I not been proactive in taking that first step. And it was just phenomenally pivotal in starting that was the first one. It was snowballing after that.
Right.
So we went on the mission trip. I had been putting off for years out of fear. We say that gets in the way quite a bit.
Right.
Fear of failure, fear of what it was going to take. I'd been putting off a surgery that I needed. Well, I'd been putting off going to see a doctor. I didn't know I was going to need the surgery at the time. I went in and I was given the news that it was going to take $60,000 to have this procedure done, and that it was crucial to my health.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went in and we got this huge, huge, huge estimate. And I am a top producer. I'll thank you for saying it and I'll receive it. But $60,000 out of pocket is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. I will very much accredit the forward moving path of continuing on the activities. And of course, the prayers that I had and the extreme amount of support that I had. And I had the surgery. It was 100% paid for. And it was the biggest blessing of my life and has hugely impacted my day-to-day health. And not to mention, our daughter was cleared of epilepsy. We got a 30 cubic yard dumpster and decluttered our entire home. We just began doing things that seemed so overwhelming because we had activities associated with our goals. It changed my life, and it really did. And I'm not overselling that. It is probably the most understated thing I've ever said. It did change our lives.
Right. Well, setting goals, I love what you said. People have a lot of dreams or dreamers,
Mm-hmm.
and we all have dreams, and we have things we worry about, right? And your vision board, when you begin to set those goals and put them on that vision, and the vision board causes you to start sharing your vision with people. And I even know when you called me up and said that you had a pregnant crisis, I think it was a pregnancy crisis center, wasn't it?
Yes.
They heard about your vision board and wanted you to come out and train it, and you went out and did that and had an impact on 20, 30 people.
Well, I was actually the side speaker, or excuse me, I was one of the breakout speakers for that event. They asked me to come back due to the feedback that they had been given from the young women. Now, these are young women who come from extremely, extremely hard lives. They're in situations that some of us have experienced, some of us haven't, but I would venture to say they're a very underserviced group of women who probably have given up on a lot of their dreams. Those women, their feedback actually caused the crisis center to call me back and ask me to be the keynote on the same topic.
Good.
And I've had several nonprofits, my church. It's spread like wildfire, the good news, because it's hard to keep in when you've been able to accomplish so many things that seem so out of reach. You definitely want to share that. And I've had the wonderful experience of getting to share that with, like you said, with some people who may have not heard it. And I thank you for your kindness and letting me use that process for those nonprofits. So it was really a great experience.
Well, you're sure welcome. Well, just in closing, you've had quite a transformation in your sales career, right?
Well, that is very, very true. A transformation. I don't even think I could have called myself a salesman when I came into this field. And I'm so grateful that I did. And I'm so grateful that I met you, because it's changed the trajectory of my life.
Right.
My husband is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He's wonderful at home with our kids. Our kids are so very happy. We are planning vacations we never thought we'd get to plan. I'm getting job offers that I thought would just be, I thought I would have to go out there and just sell myself to get in the next step. And it didn't happen. It knocked on my door. So the most important things in my life have truly come together, and it's a dream come true. It really is.
That's great. Well, Lacy, you're always been a great student and now personal friend. And so thanks for giving us an opportunity to kind of hear from you.
No, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, you're welcome.